This is Inside the FLX from FingerLakes1.com. I'm Ted Baker. Usually this would be Chris Lejeski's week from the Montezuma Audubon Center. Chris couldn't do it this week, so he's rescheduled. He'll be here live in studio next week. I had a chance recently to sit down and Zoom with Mark Byassee and Tim Hay. They are going to be the owners of Finger Lakes Cannabis Company in Victor. We talked about how they got into the line of work, the latest with the marijuana legalization law and regulation, how they convinced the village of Victor to allow them to have the business, and a few more things. Hope you enjoy the conversation. This is Inside the FLX from FingerLakes1.com. I'm Ted Baker, and I'm joined this morning by the co-founders of Finger Lakes Cannabis Company, coming soon to 5 Railroad Street in Victor. Mark Byassee and Tim Hay are with me. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's good to have you both here. Let's just start by learning a little bit about each of you. Mark, give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm recently retired I've had a long career in sort of large business, IT sales and consulting, worked for, long time for AT&T and then with some other more consulting companies. I'm a retired Army vet. My wife and I have 2 boys that grew up in the Victor School District. We're both very active in the community. My wife and I started our own budget blinds business 6 years ago. And Tim and I are, this is our next journey with myself with Tim to, have a premier dispensary in the Finger Lakes region.
All right, Tim, tell us some of your background.
I have been in the quote unquote green industry, being the landscape industry, my entire life. I've had a couple businesses. I tried my hand at the restaurant business 15, 18 years ago. That didn't last, so I went back into the landscape industry. 3.5 years ago, I was in a horrific automobile accident on the way to a trade show. And long and short of it is I was prescribed cannabis from a doctor, from a pain specialist, and it really opened my eyes to the benefits of this. And I recently, within the last year, lost my landscape industry job. And Mark came to me and said, "Hey, would you ever consider opening up a dispensary?" And I said, "Yeah, let's give this thing a go." And so far, so good. It's been about a year that we've been working on it, and it's been great.
So tell us how the plans came together. Did you have an idea that legalization was coming down the pike, or was it when it was announced that you said, okay, now this is legal, we can do this?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so we did. We got to the point early last year that legalization was imminent. Now that people have felt that way for a few years before, but we felt really good about it. And obviously, our discussions were, let's find a location, let's start building our team. And if legalization does happen, we'll be ready to go. So legalization happened. We started building our team. Like I said, we have a consultant, a cannabis industry specific consultant, accountant, we've got our marketing social media person, Tim and I, and our lawyer. So that's basically our team. We built our team. And then, from then we've just been constantly educating ourselves on the business by traveling around to other marijuana related businesses and dispensaries, following the New York state laws, the MRTA, which is the regulation, the legalization law, as well as the regulations coming out for licensing. And, news keeps getting better that the timeline's moving up. And also we targeted a very specific property in our hometown of Victor. It's right on Route 444. It's a historic train depot. So it's really perfect for our vision and our brand. And that's where we're at right now.
So let's talk about where we are with the law. I think one misunderstanding a lot of people have is they thought because the law took effect January 1st, boom, everybody was going to start selling. That's not the case. I know the Cannabis Control Board is just sort of coming together. They're doing these regional talk sessions. So where are we in terms of the law rolling out, and how much are you guys learning about how it's going to work and how you're going to be regulated?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they just allowed processors and cultivators to start generating some inventory for us future dispensaries. And, we keep hearing timelines. We were hearing, mid of 2023, and now it seems to be that there's a potential that we could be getting a license maybe October, November-ish of 2022. We have some construction to do in the building, and we're holding off on that until the rules and regulations are written so that we know what we can and can't do inside as far as security and what have you. So we've got some work to do once the licenses are issued, and we're hoping for, early 2023 to be open.
Yeah. And, the MRTA, which came out, which initially legalized, it legalized to possess and use marijuana in New York State. That's it. So as Tim referenced, the Senate just passed a bill. It's now on Kathy Hochul's desk for existing legacy hemp growers and processors can start applying for their growers license, obviously. So there's inventory ready when we're ready to open. Everything it went really, once legalization was done, everything kind of went on hold because of Governor Cuomo's issues, and really nothing got done for 6 months. So that's kind of what put everyone, behind the eight ball as far as a timeline.
Tell us what this shop in Victor is going to look like. You're going to do both retail and on-site consumption? We
are not going to do on-site consumption. Okay. So that was a condition that we agreed upon with the village of Victor. So we're in the village of Victor, which is part of the town of Victor. So all of our approvals have to come from the village. So we're not going to do on-site consumption. We're going to have an adjacent gift shop. We're going to, our vision is to be part of the Finger Lakes wine and beer trail and shopping and food industry. It's to be more of there. You can go into dispensaries. They feel like you've gone into a vape shop or a head shop or something like that. We want ours to feel like a destination experience where, we're selling locally produced items from local artisans. We plan, we're building out a deck to have, maybe some music, those types of things. So really a place where people are going to want, you go to certain states to visit dispensaries and there'll be a handful. They say, well, you got to go to this one. Because it's a different experience. And the fact that we bought the train depot, which was built in the 1850s, and it's beautiful outside and inside. It really lends ourselves to that kind of tourist Finger Lakes feel.
If you want to see some pictures, by the way, go to the website. It's FLXCannaco, CANNACO.com, and you'll see pictures inside and outside. Have you talked to some of the other people in the business about whether they're doing on-site? It seems like that would open up just a lot of headaches.
That seems to be the one gray area. We haven't heard a whole lot about on-site consumptions. As soon as people walk in the building or talk to us, they automatically assume that that's going to be happening, but we were very open with the town or the village, and they were very open with us, and they didn't want it. But we haven't heard a whole lot about the on-site consumptions. We're not sure if they're going to be more liquor bar related. I think I just read somewhere that New York City, I think, just opened up its first consumption site. But, we will be going for the delivery license. We're going to be going for that. But the on-site consumption, I personally haven't heard a whole lot about anybody going for that license.
Now you mentioned the gift shop, Terrapin Depot. What's going to be there?
So that's going to be. So our approach is there's a law called 280E. It's a federal tax law, which prohibits any business that's selling a Schedule I drug, which marijuana is still scheduled as Schedule I drug at a federal level. So we're lucky that we have a multi-tenant commercial building. So for basically 280E says you cannot deduct any of your expenses except for your cost of goods sold. So any product that you buy with THC in it, the cost of that product and the cost to manage that product as far as inventory. What we, for at least the time being, until they change the tax laws, we're going to have a separate store, the Terrapin Depot, which will sell all of the cannabis related merchandise, as well as I said, other we've got a bunch of vendors lined up, ranging from, KB White Farms that makes really nice soy-based soaps and creams and lip balms and that sort of thing, to, a woodworker that makes a lot of really nice, woodwork for, your kitchen and things like that.
Jewelry, paintings.
Yep. So, if people can come into our store, which will be about 2,500 square feet total, including our inventory and back office stuff, buy their marijuana product. And if they're looking for, to buy anything else, whether, it be a smoking accessory, one of our T-shirts, or just, it could be, specialty food or something, we tell them, walk out our door, take a right and walk 20 feet down the porch and go in and talk to the folks in there.
So in order to be able to open this store, first you had to get the Village of Victor to vote to opt in. And I think the figure I saw, roughly 50-50 across the state, but you're telling me that in your area, Northwest Ontario County, into Monroe, there weren't very many communities that opted in. So how did you convince the village that this was going to be okay and wasn't going to be a big problem for them?
Mm-hmm. Well, we got really good advice from our lawyer early on. He said, the political side of this with your local municipality is as important as anything. So first we started having just one-on-one meetings with people like the mayor, the deputy mayor, the school superintendent, the head of the Victor local economic development company. So Kathy Rayburn was really instrumental in supporting us with the town and the village, the town supervisor, and just really laid out what our vision was. And from there, we were invited into, public hearings. We went into the public hearing with the village. We've been in front of them three times or so. We've been in front of the town once, just to tell our story. And once we showed them pictures of other dispensaries of what we're going to look like and explained that, this isn't going to be some, drug den. It's going to be a nice place. And once we started sharing the types of revenue numbers and the taxes that'll go back to the community, people started nodding their head and saying, okay, these are two Victor guys. We know them. They're respected in the community. It's not someone coming in, some big company coming in from out. And I think as much as anything, the revenue and the fact that this was eventually going to happen and to get two people that they trust to do it in Victor put us over the top. So I think Victor they voted, I think it was back in October, unanimously to opt in. And I think they were one of the first communities to do so. Tim, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like Mark touched base about educating ourselves in this industry. It's been a process educating them too. It's new to the state. Most of the people on the board aren't consumers of cannabis. So trying to educate them about this, and it's gone very, very well. We've heard that other people haven't had the luck, but that was definitely the first place to start before we even started looking at any real estate was, are they going to allow us in here? That was number one.
Have you had very much pushback or had to deal with any of the cliches? I mean, it probably helps, the two of you guys don't look like stoners. I mean, it's, you still have to overcome those years and years of cliches about what marijuana use is all about.
Yeah. We've had a little bit, and it's just really been primarily from some residential residents that are close to our facility. Really just traffic related, more so than anything else. They don't want to see this huge traffic jam coming in there. They're scared that there's going to be a bunch of stoners walking around, and we've educated them that we're going for the upper end customers. People that are going to be able to afford this. This is going to be 2 or 3 times the black market prices, and we'll be weeding out those guys. And I think once they understand that, and we've gone to neighbors' houses, we've sat on their porches with them, we've talked to them. We've been it's been an open canvas. We're at the office often. If people want to walk by and come in and talk to us and look around, that's really been the only pushback. It's just by some local residents, and it just literally, 100 yards away from our building. Ones in the village and stuff have been great, but just a residential street that's right around the corner has voiced a couple concerns, but that's been it.
So go ahead.
Yeah. And, the main things that people brought up is, it's going to increase underage use of marijuana. And, marijuana use is not good for kids their brains are still developing. That's a fact. That it's going to increase crime in the area, that there's going to be more traffic accidents in the area. And we really went around to states and communities that have gone through this and have been legal for a long time. And, we've pulled, from different law enforcement agencies, from government agencies, health agencies, that, they're showing that underage use is going down because, the whole black market thing, it's harder for kids to get as it becomes more regulated. Traffic accidents have been unchanged, and the law enforcement has really embraced it because it's allowed, and crime around these dispensaries has actually gone down, A, because there's so much security around the dispensaries, and B, law enforcement, they're really embracing it because they don't have to worry about those types of offenses anymore, marijuana related offenses, and they're able to concentrate on more serious crimes. And and the other thing that's big that and this is kind of one of my things in life that I'm really concerned about is opioid abuse and addiction, and related deaths has gone down dramatically in states where legalization has happened. So those are all things that helped with those arguments.
And you've got the experience over the years of, for example, liquor stores. People don't go into a liquor store and come out and open the bottle in the parking lot. They get the product and they take it home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I always say, and, we've talked a lot to the Ontario County Sheriff's Office. If you ask a kid if it's easier for them to get, a bag of weed or a 6-pack of beer, they'll tell you a bag of weed all day long because, and not once it's regulated, then it becomes more difficult.
So where will you be getting your product from? And do you think there'll be more growing taking place in the Finger Lakes as this industry opens up?
Yes, I think so for sure. There's a lot of real estate out here, a lot of open land, and there's a lot of greenhouses all over the place. We've been meeting with people who are currently growing hemp and who are going to go over and start doing cannabis. So we've been starting that process for the last 6 or 7 months, meeting with people and looking at their supplies, touring their facilities, and we've got a good selection of growers now that we're working with, but could always use more.
Talk to us about these gift dispensaries that are trying to kind of jump the gun and get around the law, and they're becoming a nuisance in a lot of communities right now. And certainly you don't want that kind of black market competition.
Yeah, we don't want the black market competition once we're legalized, but we also don't want a black eye, and people saying, and they're not regulated. They're, a lot of my concerns are, we're starting to see news of just last week, there was a 16-year-old boy that suffered a fentanyl overdose because he bought some marijuana that was laced with fentanyl. As we've seen with cocaine and heroin, that's not going to be happening less often, right? So once that starts happening, it's a horrible thing. I don't know why anybody would do that, but we've learned a lot about in the growing industry. A very large percent of, we call it flower that's grown, is infested with mites, mold, fungus. People use pesticides that they shouldn't be using. And that's the type of stuff that's ending up on the shelves in these dispensaries. The other thing I see, there's a number of them around the Rochester area, and some of the bigger ones, there's always a line of people. And it's a cash business. So, I'm afraid that, you're going to start seeing, robberies and things like that around these places. They don't have the security that we'll be required to have. So, we're obviously for people enjoying cannabis, and we're for entrepreneurs. But we want it done the right way, for a bunch of reasons. And I know, Tim, you're pretty passionate about this too.
Yeah, these places are popping up all over the place, and we've been feeding multiple calls every day about, are you guys open? And I know that there's these gift stores. Are you guys one of those? And they're not paying taxes. You know, you're going in, you're buying a membership card for $20, and then they give you a bag of weed, and it's a certain strain, but you have no idea. There's no testing on it. There's no percentages on there. You really don't know what you're getting, just like Mark was saying. So it's kind of scary. And, we've been told that those places will not receive a license. But yet we have yet to hear about a single one being shut down. Every day somebody is saying that they went to this one and their buddy went to this one, and it's nonstop, and they're growing in size. They're getting much bigger. And Mark and I are just trying to do this the right way. Could we be doing that? Certainly. But that's not what we want to do. We want to do this right. We were very open with the village, and we listened to their concerns, and we're not trying to cut any corners. We want to make sure that we get a license and that we go about doing it the right way.
Who do you see as your customer base in terms of age, and what type of person do you think will be coming into your shop?
I would say the people probably 25 to 30 or 25 to 30 years old up to 75, 80 years old. The upper income echelon people. Mark and I, the Village of Victor has this hang around Victor Days every summer, and we set up a tent down there. They asked us if we would be a part of this, and it was right when we started doing this whole thing, and we set up a tent and spent the afternoon out there. And the people that were coming up to us, telling us how excited they were primarily 60 to 80-year-old people who used back in the 60s or the 70s, and then something happened and they didn't, and now they don't have that supplier, and they have ailments, they can't sleep, they have arthritis, they have appetite issues, and they can't wait for this place to open up. So it was really Mark and I at the end of the day were like, can you believe who was coming up? And it wasn't the kids, or the 21-year-old kids running around. It was senior citizens for the most part. And we kind of looked at each other and was like, I think we got something good going here.
So how is the product going to be packaged? Is it going to be loose in baggies, rolled up in joints, or all of the above? And will you have different strains from different places, like going into a winery and here's the dry white and here's the red?
Yep. All of the above, probably. How it's packaged, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if that's going to be something. I believe that that's something that we're going to end up doing. We'll probably get it in bulk and then put it in a glass container or some sort of smell-proof, child-proof container. We will have edibles, we'll have tinctures, we'll have vape cartridges, we'll have all of the above.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges about legal buying marijuana out of a dispensary and marijuana products is getting the packages open. they're basically they're just child-proofed, and typically the processors will do so. Kind of the supply chain. You have the growers. A lot of the growers will do packages, whether it's for eighths or quarters or whatever. And then, they sell some raw flower to the dispensaries directly or through a distributor, but a lot of it they sell to the processors that are making the tinctures and the edibles and the infused beverages and the topicals and, gummies. They'll come prepackaged, but a lot of the people that we're talking to, and when Tim says that we'll be responsible for it, a lot of the processors and growers, we talk to them about, white labeling their products. So we will have say in the packaging on what it looks like and how it's packaged as well.
I know you've both touched on this a little bit, but just expand upon the idea of your brand, that you have a specific sort of look and feel that you want for this store, and a way that you want people to think about it, both the customers and your neighbors.
Yeah, so that was big. Like I said, we want to be part of the Finger Lakes tourism industry. So there's a new magazine coming out called FLX 420. It is part of it's a tourist magazine to talk about the cannabis industry in the Finger Lakes. Been doing a lot of work with them. In fact, we were interviewed. We'll be featured in their first edition that comes out around April 20th. So we've worked, very closely with them. Some of the limo and tour companies We met with Visit Rochester. We're going to join that organization. So people that are coming in from out of town, they use Visit Rochester to learn about what's in Rochester and what are some points of interest and destinations where they should go to. So we really want to be part, that in the fabric of all of that. So, as well as, the Southeast, kind of upper income, and that's the other thing people don't understand. If you buy something from a dispensary, it's going to be twice as expensive as what you can buy off the street. And, the black market's not totally going away. So, a college kid, people that are on very limited incomes, they're unless they're just coming in to buy, a pre-roll joint or something, they're not going to, they can't afford to spend a lot of money in these places. So, so we're targeting, that kind of upper income. I call them the big chill crowd, right? So people that, played around with it in the 70s and 80s. And if they're at a party and, a joint's being passed around, they may take a hit off it. But they more or less stop buying it because it's illegal. They've got kids, they've got, jobs that they can't jeopardize. And now that it's legal, people are starting to, and they're learning the health benefits of it. People are starting to gravitate back into to be used in more of mainstream America. And the other thing too is we're right on. So 444. So everyone that's going from, if you're familiar with Rochester, anyone that's going to the Finger Lakes from Rochester and other points in Western New York, whether it's to Bristol Mountain, to CMAC for a concert, to, a wine and beer tour, to going to your lake house, they're going to drive right by our place. They're going to drive within like 20 feet of our store. So, that's really what we're building our brand around is those folks. And Tim?
And we're going for that country theme. We're in the Finger Lakes. We want to have it look like it's in the country. We want it to be able to be a place where if a husband and wife, one of them consumes and the other one doesn't, that they'll both come there and one can walk around and shop and look at some stuff while the other one's, getting whatever they want to get to help their ailments. We want this to be something where everybody would come in, whether they consume or not, and look around and potentially, buy something cannabis related or Finger Lakes related.
In talking with people in other states where it's been around for a while, any concerns about security, break-ins and that kind of thing?
That's always a concern, especially with with it being a cash business for the most part. We're still waiting to hear what we have to do with security. Bulletproof windows or not being able to punch your hand through the wall because there's a steel mesh in there, a guard station, how many guards. So there's a lot of stuff that we're just kind of waiting to hear. Every state we've been to. So this year, Mark and I, we went out to Colorado for a week. We went to Vegas for a week. We went to Maine for a week. We went to Michigan for a week. We went to Massachusetts. Every place seemed to have something different. Maine, yep. Every place was different, whether they just look at your ID and then you go to a waiting room and wait to get buzzed in, or they look at your ID and there's a security guard there. Every place was different. So we're thinking that New York's going to be pretty stringent on the security stuff. But again, we're just waiting to see what they write.
All right, you mentioned the 420 magazine. We've got to reach out to those folks, so we'll be featuring them on a future exhibit, a future edition of this podcast. Go to flxcannaco.com, flxcannaco.com. Beautiful outside shot of the railroad station and the inside shots as well. Look forward to you succeeding in Victor, and we appreciate you sharing the time here today.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks again to Mark and Tim. We appreciate it. Once more, Chris Lejewski from Montezuma Audubon Center would normally be today. He had to postpone, so he'll be with us in studio next week. This program produced by Paul Russo and Nate Sharman, who will be at Allen Arena tonight in Skaneateles for Division III semifinal hockey. It'll be the Skaneateles Lakers taking on the combined CBA JD team tonight, 6:30 on Finger Lakes 1, and we will see you back here next week.